everybody. Welcome to episode 36 of the Hey Everybody podcast. It's a somber occasion because we're marking the 1 year anniversary of quarantine. But let's not. Let's not have a somber occasion. In fact, let's aggressively go the other way. Oh yeah, that's new for the Hey Everybody podcast. It has been 1 full year of COVID living for yours truly here. And I have endured the last few days of people marking their anniversaries, and it has made me want to slam my head in a refrigerator door. Look, I know people mark things in all different ways. And there is plenty to be said about remembering hardship and how we mark time and that kind of thing. But I don't need to see one more 15-minute speech that is 14 minutes of, it's been a hard year, lost a lot, we've all said goodbye to loved ones, we've all got real dry hands from washing them like crazy, and maybe like Chris Gold, you apply lotion to moisturize when your hands are dry, and more than once you've gotten stuck in a bathroom because your hands are too slippery to turn the knob. It's been a tough year. And then you get 1 minute of like, but it's going to be okay. And I really feel like my personal constitution is such that like, I don't really need your help remembering bad stuff. I don't need you to remind me when I should be sad. But if you could lend a hand yanking me out of that, I'll sign up for 2 of those. And, excuse me. And hopefully that's what this podcast has been for people. Hopefully, certainly there have been moments where I have sat here and been, retrospectively, maybe a little too honest about my lows. But I've tried to share my highs with you, and I've tried to encourage your highs, and, if I'm being real honest, part of me is cranked up because I learned something on the internet a few minutes ago that sent me into a rage. And it's not what you would think. It has nothing to do with masks or vaccines or anything. But did you know, I didn't know this, Millennials, which apparently, some people say I'm a millennial, which I don't understand. But I don't care either. I have long said, like, it doesn't matter what decade you were born in, just try not to be a butt. But apparently millennials, like younger millennials, they don't use top sheets on their beds. And that blew my mind. What? I know it doesn't seem like that big a deal, but in a world where so much already doesn't make sense, to find out that there are some people living life like savages and just putting blankets on themselves with no sheet. Like, plus, how often are you washing that blanket, that comforter, duvet, if you're nasty? A sheet you can wash pretty regular, but a comforter, that's a process, and I don't think that's sanitary, and it's not comfortable, and it just feels like an odd practice. I'm not mad about it. I seem mad about it, maybe because I'm mad about it, but I'm not mad about it. What kind of world are we living in? Where the generation that's going to take care of me when I'm old and sick they're not using sheets. What? I know it's a small thing, but be honest, isn't it kind of refreshing to see someone get worked up about something that doesn't matter? Everyone's so worked up about crucial stuff that it's hard to be entertained by any of it. So, if nothing else, you can be entertained by a 37-year-old man realizing for sure that the world is leaving him behind because a whole generation of people stopped using sheets. And this isn't like a BuzzFeed article I read. This is human beings I know on Facebook talking about they don't use sheets. Get out of here with that. that, and like I said, I watched the Joe Biden talk, and it was, for my money, I know solidarity and people feel seen and heard when people in positions of power relay their struggles back to them, that kind of thing. Totally get that. And maybe it's appropriate for the president to do. I don't know. But everyone's doing it. Every single person's doing it. And some people have had pretty good years, and they're not. I've always said, like, give me the whole story, Like, the Golds have had a very hard year. We lost a loved one. We lost our pet of 14 years. We had to homeschool a kid. I lost my job, essentially. My wife had to completely change the way she does her job because of masks and that kind of thing. And there was time that she had to do it virtually, and that was a challenge. And there was a lot of financial uncertainty and the obvious, like, COVID concerns, like, are we going to get sick? Are people we love going to get sick? This kind of stuff. But I'm able to look back and go, like, that's not the whole story, though, and it's certainly not the only story I would want to tell someone. And if you have a good story and a bad story, or a happy story and a sad story, and you only get the opportunity to tell someone one story, I don't know why so many people are picking the sad one. If someone asks how my year went, there's a bit at the beginning about, it was tough. We like I said, we said goodbye to a loved one, and we dealt with some loss and some struggle. But, our son is really thriving in online school, and my wife has figured out how to keep doing her job, and I have figured out how to change my job in a way that meant I released 2 EPs, an instrumental record, a live record, a book, a poster. I did 100 performances in 100 days. I did 3 or 4 live sets, and I hosted a benefit show from this very couch, and I started this podcast, and I watched close to 300 horror movies with my wife, and I got that much closer to my son for being with him every day, and it was good, and I had some time to accept that, like, all I have control over here is my own mind, not even maybe my body, depending on how things go. And I got to spend some good quality quiet time thinking about that, and I got to say goodbye to some stresses. I traded some stresses. I traded the stress of success and shows and travel for the financial stress, but I also, in return, I got a little bit of peace where, for the foreseeable future, I don't have to worry about the rejection of not getting that show, or not getting to open that show, or how come he got to open that show and I didn't get to open that show, or how much merch did we sell tonight? I can't believe we didn't sell more merch. Why aren't there more people here? In a lot of ways, I felt free. And there's other things I could talk about, for sure. But I don't... A long time ago, when I was a kid, I heard someone tell someone else, in every opportunity, you have the choice to be a thermometer or a thermostat, which is, you can just tell people the temperature of the room and you can reflect the temperature of the room, or you can set the temperature of the room and you can control the temperature of the room. And I don't know too much about the control, but I would like to... I quite like the idea that maybe if someone is feeling down, they feel reasonably certain that they could come find the latest thing I did and feel some relief. And I don't think that's a denial of how bad things are. I think it's proof that I think things are bad. I think that's what I'm working against. And the fact that I'm working against it means I acknowledge that it exists. You won't see a lot of firefighters going, "What fire? I don't know what you mean. Everything's fine." It's always that fire, that big one right there. But we're not really here to talk about the fire. We're here to put it out. And my powers at this stage are still quite limited. So I can't necessarily put out the fire, but I can sit with you I could bring some s'mores fixins. We could talk, we could have a beer, and we could think about what's going right, if anything. You know, there's always got to be something, right? And then, of course, there's all these people like faking a COVID year. There's all these people that I know for sure didn't really change that much about their lives, and they're still like marking the anniversary, like, oh, it's been a tough year, but like it hasn't been. And I know it's not my place to judge what is and isn't tough for people, and maybe people are suffering quietly, and that's possible. But it's also definitely true that some people are lying. They're just going, oh, this is what everyone's talking about, and this is what people are clicking like on, so I'm going to write a little bit about the 1 year anniversary of blah, even though, like, you know, I'm not into it. I'm not into the inauthentic. Just be honest. Whatever you are, be honest. And as a musician, oh boy, you encounter so much persona and shtick and show, and that's fine. I love a good shtick. Like I said, lately I've been real into this rock and roll band called Valiant Thor, and they all have fake names and claim to be aliens from, I believe, Jupiter. They crash landed in North Carolina. Dude, I'm all the way on board for that. Like, I'll watch a documentary about that. Like, I love that. What I don't love is, you know, I'm sitting backstage with a guy and he's going, oh yeah, you know, we're from up Duluth there. You know, we've been on the road a couple 2-3 weeks, and it's going pretty good. You know, nice crowds, that kind of thing. Not huge, but it's going pretty good. You know, a couple little Minnesota guys out on the road seeing the world. That's nice. And then the guy says, all right, guys, you guys are on. And the guy reaches for a brand new hat and he puts it on like Darth Vader. And he walks out on stage and he goes, howdy, y'all. Pleasure to be here. And I'm just like, why? Be the country singer from Minnesota. That's a fine thing to be. That's a good thing to, like, you just see all this fake, like, oh, I'm a loner. I'm just out here on the dusty road. And it's like, but you're not, though. All this fake hillbilly stuff. See, you know, apparently when you buy a banjo, it now comes with suspenders and a hat. And wear suspenders and a hat if you want to. I don't care. I you know, dress like John Hartford till you're blue in the face. He was one of the best to ever do it. But what are we doing with the lie? You know what I mean? Like, people living like they're Daniel Day-Lewis playing the part of the singer for Mumford & Sons. I don't know. What is this episode even about, you guys? I don't know. You'd be forgiven for thinking that this wasn't my first beer today. But it is. I just thought, you know, after the drudgery that has been this year, and if you guys like me have had to see a bunch of people reminding you how hard things have been, you might want to sit down with old biscuits and have a beer. That could be fun. Yeah, I drank too much coffee this morning too. I was feeling a little zoomy. Just drank a lot of coffee. But I had a good morning, even though it was a morning spent kind of in conflict. I realized it's a new development for me that when I'm in conflict with people or they're doing something I don't like, I'm finally able to eventually, pretty quickly, but not right away, see it as an opportunity to empathize with someone I disagree with, to look inward and see, like, is being upset or sad or aggravated a choice that I'm making? Why would I make that choice? Can I make a different choice? That kind of thing. And a few weeks ago, I was having a back and forth with someone, and it was stressing me out. And I was telling my wife, and she said, why don't you just tell him to stop? Why don't you tell him you don't want to talk about this? And it was a friend of mine, and it wasn't like it wasn't a problem. It was stressing me out. And my wife said, you should just tell him it's stressing you out. And without thinking about it, which is how I knew it had finally become part of my reality, I said, because it's good practice. And then I went, oh. And she kind of went, oh. And I feel like anytime you can look at stress or conflict or adversity as good practice to work on yourself, you're going to have a better time for sure. It's real windy outside, or there's like a garbage truck that just plowed into a house. Either way, oh, here comes the recycling truck. Now would be a fine time for a drink if you guys have a beverage with you, because the recycling truck is outside. And I heard a really funny bit. There's a comedian named Kyle Kinane, and he's one of my favorites. And he has this bit about how he talks a big game about having given up on humanity and it's all just crap and who cares, but he keeps recycling. And it's good. And I don't know how deep he intended people to go analyzing this joke. Probably not very. But I think it speaks to a broader point of like, if you just look at your own habits, you'll see like you feel more hopeful than maybe you are even prepared to admit. Certainly I do, you know. I definitely tend towards cynicism and pessimism and doomy thinking, but there's all these things that I'm doing in my life that seem to be evidence that I think it's going to be okay eventually in the long run, you know. Let's do a song. I thought today, being that it is a year, one of the things I was doing but leading up to this year that we've had, I was making a record. I would say we were well past the halfway point. Me and the guitar player for my band, we were in his studio and we were working on a record that was going to be a solo record. We had all the drums done, the bass was done, the acoustic guitar was done, maybe like half the vocals were done, and then we were going to kind of spice it up with little things here and there, and then it was going to be finished. And then COVID happened, and I was kind of forced to decide what to do with this record. And the options were, we could try to figure out a somewhat bogus way to finish it. Like I could kind of track stuff at home and then send it to him, but the stuff I did at home wouldn't sound as good as the stuff we did there because he has better gear there. We could try to do some terrible socially distanced, only one person in the room at a time at the studio thing. We could try to just finish the half that was done and then put that out. But no matter what we finished or put out, it would be put out in a world where I couldn't play a single show and promote this record. And the thing about the record is, I think it's something special. I really believe in the record that we were working on, and I've believed in all of them, but this one really does feel significant for whatever reason. So I made the decision that we would just freeze the whole thing. So we have not worked on it since. I have not listened to it since, and I have not really played any of those songs even in my living room since, because I want them to still feel fresh and vibrant when we get back to it, and when the record comes out, possibly, hopefully this year. But I thought since it's been a year, I might play you one of those songs. And if you have the book that I put out, you'll notice that there are 14 or 15 songs in it that you have not heard. And it's because most of them were being worked on for this record. And they will come out at some point. But I thought today I would play you a song, and I let my wife pick which one, and she picked this one. It's called The Riverbed. And it was one of those ones that kind of revealed itself to me over time. Like it came out very fast, but the first time I played it, I thought that it was a story song about like a tired Western outlaw who was on the run and kind of had nowhere else to go and no way to rest. And then the second couple times I played it, I thought maybe it's like about a vampire. Maybe it's more about like a vampire. That's kind of cool. And then I played it a few more times. I thought maybe it's both. Maybe it's like this vampire outlaw cowboy on the run, and he has to run forever because he's a vampire, and you never think about that. But if vampires were real, they would have been cowboys. They would have been back then too. And then I played it a couple more times, and I realized it's just about me. And I was disappointed for a second until I realized that means I'm kind of like a vampire outlaw cowboy in whatever way, even if just in the way that I'm very tired. So I have this song. It is unreleased. It will be on a record that will come out soon, I hope. Soon is relative. Hopefully in 2021, this record will come out. It has a title, and I'll tell you later. But for now, this is called The Riverbed. I haven't played it in a year, and we'll see how it goes. Here we go. Longer blinks, but I'm still not sleeping. Found a lot of holes, but I dug no graves. It rusts in the water where it rests so sweetly, laid down in the sand of the riverbed. I made a run, just $1 to my name, hoping someday I could turn it into 10. Found each place that I came across was just the same. Familiar faces chased me, they just had different names. Came back as if from the great beyond, on a roll of thunder in a mighty dawn. Half alive and still half moved on. What remains is bound for where what left has gone. I made a run, just $1 to my name, hoping someday I could turn it into 10. Found each place that I came across was just the same. Familiar faces chased me, they just had different names. Then fear became name I gave my faith, and that faith gave me away. Their fear became the name I gave my faith, and that faith gave me away. I made a run, just $1 to my name, hoping someday I could turn it into 10. Found each place that I came across was just the same. Familiar faces chased me, they just had different names. All right. I'm excited to finish that record, and I'm excited to put it out and hopefully have people hear it. I do think there will be some shows this summer, I hope. Not a lot of people are telling you the truth, which is that we just don't know. Nobody knows. I mean, some people are, like Biden and Fauci, but I mean people on Facebook that are positive that this or that is going to happen. And I you know, I'll tell you this. I hope so. I suspect probably so, but I don't know. And I think that when I get back to it, I would like to start with house shows, hopefully for y'all, people that have watched the podcast and that kind of thing. And I've even thought about maybe trying to do like a live "Hey Everybody" thing with some songs, but you know, a little agnostic sermon tucked in there. Let's do some recommendations, get you out of here. We got a theme today. Oh my goodness, we got a theme today. It's like a professional podcast, except he's drinking a beer. And he's doing it very early in the afternoon. I thought I would hit you guys with some very early quarantine stuff. The first one I'm going to show you is this band here called The Wait. This record is called 10 Mile Grace. And these guys, they're like a country band. A little more in like the alt country. You can tell they don't totally necessarily come from the country world. It was released on a punk rock label out of Florida, I believe. But for my money, the easiest way to describe this is country music. And it's real good. You get a sad pedal steel, that kind of thing. And the reason this is sort of a quarantine record for me is because I believe in the first week or two of quarantine, my friend Brad sent me a message and he's like, dude, you gotta check out this band called Country Westerns. And they're great. And I love that record. And I recommended it possibly on the first episode of this podcast. And same singer. The singer for Country Westerns, before he was in Country Westerns, fronted this band called The Wait. And listen to the song 10 Mile Grace off of here. And there's some rowdy stuff and there's some sad country stuff. And I think you'll dig it. I like it. If you're a fan of Lucero and that kind of thing, check that out. And then the next two things, like I said, quarantine for us officially started on a Tuesday. My son had a half day of school that day, and then we were home. And that Sunday, I was in the studio with my friend, and his studio is very near a record store, and there was rumbling going on. My bass player and very good friend called me on the phone, and he's like, dude, this is going to happen. Like, you know, be prepared or whatever. And for me, be prepared or whatever means you should probably go grab like a record and a movie and that kind of thing in case you're sitting at home for a week. So that's what I did. My friend's studio is very near a record store. So I went in there before the session and, oh, buddy, look what I found. This is Del Mccurry. This record's called Del Mccurry Sings Bluegrass. And he is one of the best to ever do it. He's a living legend. He's one of those first name guys. You go to any kind of bluegrass part of the culture and say Del, and they know exactly who you're talking about. And this is great. It's just high octane, traditional bluegrass music. And how great is that cover? And, you know, I just love it. It's got a little essay on the back here. And so many good songs on here, but I would say listen to Roll in My Sweet Baby's Arms, which is like a classic. I'm used to hearing my dad sing that one and hearing a bunch of other people sing it. And this just, if you want some traditional bluegrass, this is the place to go. And he's just one of the best to ever do it. I have a funny Del story, but this podcast is getting a little long, so maybe I'll save it for another day. And then I also bought this movie. It's called Ain't Them Bodies Saints. It was directed by David Lowery, and I believe possibly also written by David Lowery. Do you guys want to see me read this in front of you? That's what I'm doing. It's terrible, terrible. I don't know. Why is the writing so small on these? Anyways, I'm sorry. This movie is great. He's done 3 movies that I've seen, and I have loved them all. Like, loved them all. He also did a movie called A Ghost Story, and he did a movie called The Old Man and the Gun. And they're all fantastic, and they all have a different vibe, but you can tell he made them. Like, they have his kind of signature on them. And this is kind of like a neo-Western. The review here says, an exceptional modern Western. And it's very good. It's like dusty and sweaty and kind of sad, but the soundtrack is great. The acting is great. Some of these reviews, undeniably impressive, a grand, doomed love story, a lyrical spellbinder. So, check out Ain't Them Bodies Saints. Tori and I watched it, I think, on day 2 or 3 of quarantine, thinking that there would only be like 5 or 6 more days. and here we are. But I will tell you this, for those of you that have stuck around to the end of this thing. I had a doctor's appointment for my throat a couple months ago, and he said, so you're a musician? And I said, yeah. He said, full-time musician? I said, yeah. And he said, well, what have you been doing now? And I hadn't thought about it, really. I kind of stopped and I said, well, I guess enough people are buying my music and supporting. I started a podcast and I put out a book and that kind of thing, and enough people are supporting that I haven't had to stress too much about what I'm going to do, or find something new to do. And obviously this is new, but I still feels like an extension of what I was doing before. And I just want to let you know that I really appreciate everybody that has supported my music or the book or the podcast in whatever way you've supported it, either by sending some money, or by paying to download some music, or by just telling a friend about what I'm doing. It means a lot. And like I said, there's always financial stress in a life like this. And COVID has magnified that a fair bit. But it's also kind of thrown into sharp focus that a few people care about what I'm doing, and they care about me, and that means a lot. So, thanks for being here. I plan on continuing this even after the world sort of comes back, for as long as it feels good and makes sense to do it, and I think that might be quite a while. So, I hope you're getting something out of it, and I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you can look back on the year you had and take some pride in the sacrifices you made, and know that they were for the good of the people around you. And I hope you, if you lost anybody like we did, I hope you remember them fondly and well and often. And I've been saying for 36 weeks it's going to be okay, and it seems like it's getting okayer every day. So I've been happy to share this time with you, and I'm looking forward to more time together, and possibly even in person. So I'm gonna go finish this beer. I love you guys. Be good. Get your shot when you can get your shot. Wear your mask until they tell you to stop, and just chill. Just chill if you don't agree with everybody around you. It's okay. Just relax and do the right thing. Bye.